Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. My name is Jake Margo. Tonight we have a brand new episode of Invincible out, episode 4 of season 4. Let's get into it. This was an interesting episode. As someone who didn't read the comics, I just have this feeling. I didn't research this. Maybe I'm wrong. You can let me know in the comments. But this feels like something that was maybe like an iconic iteration of the Invincible comic series, especially with the fact that when the end credits popped up, Robert Kirkman himself wrote the episode. I don't know. I just feel like this was maybe something that was like a really big addition when it came out. The concept of like Invincible goes to hell and fights on Satan's behalf conceptually is a really cool idea. And the execution of this episode, for the most part, was really awesome. I think this was a very well done episode. Myself, just when you're talking about religion, I kind of have some issues with how some things were portrayed. The notion that hell is real, heaven is fake, Satan's really just like a sympathetic good guy. These are personal gripes that I don't think detract from the quality of the episode, but they were rubbing me the wrong way. And I have to just be honest and admit that. Um, I really wasn't a fan of that aspect of the episode. And I know this is like a animated fantasy comic series, but it just seemed nefarious in a way to kind of go with this route of denying heaven and God, but being like, yeah, Satan is actually this super cool guy who, I mean, yeah, he likes to torture occasionally, but like he's really the protector of Earth and keeping the demons from destroying Earth. Not the biggest fan of that concept, but the show itself basically becomes somewhat of a bottle episode in hell, which again conceptually is really cool. And you do have like one brief slot at the beginning with a nice little bookend with a really great cliffhanger for next week. But as you start the episode off, Mark, and this is obviously going to be a recurring theme throughout the season, and as I've mentioned in my last couple of reviews, they've really been building up to this. So it's good to see them giving multiple episodes worth of payoff, not just moving on from such a powerful and damaging moment for Mark and potentially his psyche, how he views himself as a hero, having to kill somebody for the greater good. But it's not an easy concept for someone like Mark. So to see him still struggling with this as he goes and visits Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, the costume maker, and kind of is expressing these moments of self doubt to him. He gives him a little bit of reassurance, saying, your father never even came here and had any type of doubt. He just punched his way through everything. So I think the fact that you're doing this shows you're not the same as your father, which we know he's not, but he does have that Viltrumite in them, and he's worried about it, as he should be, with all the trauma that he suffered at the hands of his father. This is all like really, really great character stuff in an animated show. It's crazy. That's why I love this show so much. This show is magical. And for the most part, it puts a smile on my face every week. I think the humor and the dialogue in this episode were top notch. The return of Damien Darkblood, who kind of serves as like a co-protagonist, gets a nice portion of the episode dedicated to like himself building up, the Dark Blood clan, his sister with her fire axe, and these big unnamed grunts that fight with them as they're fighting kind of a villain of the week, Volcanica, who I'm sure will be back, but she is essentially a lava demon goddess who has conquered hell and overthrown Satan. So this episode has a lot going on in it. But again, I think it mostly pays off. Like you might not feel the same way I do, and it's totally subjective. I just, with the theocracy the show plays, like the religious angle, it rubbed me the wrong way. But for the most part, it didn't detract from what was otherwise like a really good episode and really cool. I mean, just the visuals, the animation in this episode, I think, were some of the best I've seen in like non-finales where they've clearly devoted more of their budget in past seasons, like for these big epic end of battle fights. I think the animation here was top notch. So really, really good episode. Still, it's not my favorite of the season for what I've stated, but that's a personal thing. If others might think this is like a top 3, top 5 Invincible episode, and I could see why you would think that. I wouldn't hold it against you. Hopefully, you won't hold it against me. But um, where the episode kind of ends, and what I thought was a really great like end point to the bottle aspect, the hell battle with Volcanica, is Mark just like middle of her like villain monologue and just punching her head off, and it grows back. He does it again and again, and it was quite humorous. Again, I think the humor in this episode was quite funny. The whole sequence of like Mark and Damien Darkblood falling down this near bottomless pit and just having this conversation about Damien's retracting helmet, and it's an extended conversation, and it kind of gets funnier as they protract it longer than you would expect it to be. I think there was enough bits of humor like that to really make up for the ghoulish setting. So, um, but yeah, after Mark punches her head off, which I thought was a great endpoint, we get back to the world. You have Eve still reeling from the revelation of last week's episode 3, that she is pregnant, struggling with what she wants to do, coming to terms with no, she's not ready for the kid. I feel like there's maybe this insinuation of she's going to have to make a choice that the episode really doesn't even come close to like tackling that head on. But you can kind of feel the undercurrent there of, is she going to make a choice maybe without Mark's consent or him even knowing? Because as she tries to tell him at the end of the episode, after Mark finds out that his house is going to be sold, Debbie is going to be moving in with her new boyfriend, and he's accepting of it. But as she's about to tell him she's pregnant, who is there in the sky but Nolan and Alan the alien, saying, Mark, the war has begun. We need you to fight. It's a great cliffhanger. It's a great place to leave off from this really cool episode. Again, written by the creator, the comic creator of Invincible and The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. Clearly, this was something that meant quite a deal to him. I don't remember him having too many writing credits on the show, but he kills the dialogue. It's snappy. There's funny moments. You have Darkblood, who gets to come back to Earth with the little post-credit sequence where the devil basically tasks him with finding out why Volcanica wants to go to Earth and kill everybody with her molten lava monsters. So we will get a little bit more of Damien Darkblood, who I think is a really cool side character. He's always been like a cool one since he was first introduced in episode 2. So it's nice to have him back for a little bit. We have a lot of storylines going. We still haven't even come back to the T-Rex guy from the first season, or from the first episode of season 4, or the woman wielding the like power source staff trying to steal electricity. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this season. I think they're juggling it quite well. How do we kind of start streamlining into what to me is easily the most intriguing storyline of this all, outside of like the really awesome character work they do on an episode to episode basis, which is the fight and the war with the Viltrumites. It seems like the end game goal. So the fact that we're kind of there already as we go into episode 5 is very promising. I'm very excited for it. I'm curious to know what you guys are thinking. What did you think of this episode? Did I give too much of a hot take? Yeah, I know it was a bad pun, but whatever. What do you guys think? I like this episode. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. I think a lot of people might see this as a 10 out of 10 episode, which is totally fine for me. Like if this was a seminal comic volume of the series, like a really famous one, and you've read the comics, how well did they adapt it to how you envisioned it? So um, that's really all I got. Again, 8 out of 10, good episode. Rubbed me the wrong way on some of the theology that they go with, but that's okay. I can take it. So just that part not for me, but otherwise conceptually and the execution, really cool episode. Great animation, great humor. The stakes continue to rise. Mark, Nolan reunited. How will that work with this kind of newfound vulnerability that Nolan has been expressing this season? He does seem to be somewhat of a changed man, and I was hoping we would get an interaction between him and Debbie. She needs that cathartic, get it all out kind of moment with him. maybe it would just shock her. I don't know. I'm hoping we get some type of interaction between those two. After, I mean, no one called this woman a pet, his wife of 20 plus years. There's a lot to unbury there, but where we're heading, I can't wait to see. So next week, episode 5 can't come quick enough. That's all for me, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Give me a like if you enjoyed the review. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Invincible reviews. And we're gonna have the boys reviews down the line. So that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I'm Jake Margot. This is Margot Watches Movies. We'll see you next time.